In the last video, I told you about the messy part of quitting my job, not the fantasy version, the real one. We left off in that first year after I walked away from my career. No structure, identity crisis, money stress, tension at home. Today, I want to tell you what happened after that, because a lot of people think the story ends there. He quit, it was hard, the end. But that's not where it ended for me. That's actually where my real life finally started. I'm 73 now, and I want to show you how I went from scared, drifting, and ashamed to living a quieter, simpler, but much richer life. Not with magic, not with a follow your passion miracle, with small, boring, consistent decisions. I'm telling you this because some of you are already where I was back then. You quit, or you're between jobs, or you know you can't stay where you are, but you don't see the path forward. This video is for that in-between season. So let's pick up the story. After I quit, that first year was rough. Too much free time, not enough money coming in, no clear idea who I was. One morning, about a year after leaving my job, I woke up and saw the same pattern I'd been repeating. Wake up late, feel guilty, promise myself I'd figure it out, do nothing meaningful, go to bed frustrated. And I had this thought: I didn't quit my job to build a new prison at home. That day, I did something simple that changed everything. I stopped waiting for a big answer, and I decided to control the small things. I took a notebook and wrote down 3 tiny daily rules for myself. Move my body every day. Do one thing that makes money or could lead to money. Do one thing that matters to me even if nobody else cares. That was it. Not find my purpose. Not build a new career. Just 3 things. So day 1 looked like this. I went for a 20-minute walk. I called an old colleague to let him know I was available if anyone needed consulting. I wrote 1 page in a journal about what I'd learned from my heart attack. That night, for the first time in a long time, I felt not fixed, not amazing, but anchored. Because here's what I eventually learned. Your second act doesn't start with a big moment. It starts with small habits that you don't abandon when you feel lost. A couple of weeks later, one of those calls paid off. An old client reached out. He'd heard I left the firm. He said, "We can't afford your old firm, but we trust you. Would you be open to doing a small project on your own?" I almost said no. Why? Pride. It paid less than I used to make. There was no fancy office, no assistant, no status. But then I asked myself a better question. Am I willing to be a beginner again, even if it looks like a step down from the outside? I said yes. That little project did 3 things for me. It brought in some money. It reminded me that I still had useful skills. It showed my wife that I wasn't just drifting. I was trying. From there, I took on a few more small consulting jobs. Not full-time, not climbing the ladder again, just enough to create a financial bridge. Let me pause here because this is important. A lot of people think the choice is corporate job versus pure passion life. Reality is usually something in the middle. For me, it looked like this. A few days a week of work I knew how to do, consulting. A few hours a day of work I wanted to grow into, writing, volunteering, building relationships. Daily non-negotiables, walks, family time, rest. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't, I make millions working 4 hours a week. It was ordinary and it was enough. And that enough gave me space to build the parts of my life I'd neglected for decades. Let me tell you about one of those parts: relationships. Before I quit, my relationships were like plants I watered once in a while so they wouldn't die. After I quit, I realized this is actually the garden. Work had been the weed. My wife and I started a new ritual. Every morning before I checked emails or looked at the news, we had coffee together. No phones, no TV, just 20 minutes. At first it felt small, insignificant. But over time, those small daily conversations did something that years of big vacations never did. They rebuilt our friendship. With my kids, I started being the one to reach out. Not on holidays or when I needed something. Just random. Hey, how are you really? Want to grab lunch this week? I saw something that reminded me of you. Sometimes they were busy. Sometimes they said no. But slowly, those connections deepened. And here's the thing. That was work. Emotional work. Unpaid work. The kind of work I used to ignore because I was too busy chasing promotions. If you're in your second act, hear me. Your relationships are not a side project. They are the project. Around this time, I also started volunteering one afternoon a week at a community center, helping with adult literacy classes. The first day, I walked in thinking I was the wise old guy who was going to give back. 5 minutes in, I realized I was the student too. I met people who had way less than I did, in money, in security, in health, but who were showing up, learning, trying. No ego, no fancy story. That room did more for my sense of purpose than any title I ever had. It reminded me, I don't have to change the world. I just have to be useful to the people right in front of me. That volunteer work led to conversations. Those conversations led to invitations. Can you talk to our group about stress? Can you share your story with the evening class? Slowly, without planning it, I started doing what I'm doing with you now, telling the truth about my mistakes so other people don't have to repeat them. Now, don't get me wrong, this wasn't a straight line. Even in those better years, there were moments when a big bill arrived and my old panic came back. A friend my age took a fancy job and I felt behind. I'd see my former colleagues on LinkedIn with new titles and feel that old tug of status. Some days, even in my new, intentional life, I did nothing useful and went to bed disappointed in myself. But here's the difference from before. Back then, I was on autopilot toward a life I didn't want. Now, even when I'm messed up, I was awake. I could see when I was drifting and gently steer myself back. If you're in that middle stage, past the quitting, not yet in a stable new life, let me give you a few things I learned the hard way. First, stability is not the enemy of freedom. It protects it. I used to think getting any kind of regular work again meant I had failed. That's nonsense. Having enough money coming in to cover your basic needs doesn't kill your dream. It protects it from constant panic. If a simple part-time job or freelance work keeps you from burning through your savings and losing sleep, take it. Be humble about it. Use it as a tool, not an identity. Second, tiny routines beat huge breakthroughs. The biggest changes in my life didn't come from one big decision. They came from doing small things for a long time, walking every day, reading instead of scrolling, calling one person I cared about each week, writing one honest page, even when I hated what came out. If your life feels chaotic right now, don't wait for motivation. Pick 2 or 3 small daily actions and treat them like medicine. You don't argue with the pill, you just take it. Third, your second act is not about proving yourself. It's about aligning yourself. In my old life, everything was about proof. Prove I'm smart, prove I'm successful, prove I can keep up. In my new life, the questions slowly changed to, does the way I'm living match what actually matters to me? That's alignment. Ask yourself, if someone followed you around for a week with a camera, no sound, just video, and then showed it to you with no explanations, would you recognize the life you say you want in the life you're actually living? If not, don't hate yourself. Don't make a speech. Adjust one thing at a time. At 73, I still don't have it all figured out. I still make dumb choices. I still waste time. I still need to reset my habits. But here's the difference. Now, my life belongs to me. Not to a company, not to other people's expectations, not to an old story of who I thought I had to be. And that's what I want for you. Not an Instagram version of freedom. A real, sometimes boring, sometimes scary, deeply satisfying version. So if you've quit and you're in that messy middle, here's what I'd ask you to do this week. Choose a wake-up time and a simple morning routine. Stick to it for 7 days. Do one thing each day that could lead to income, even if it's small. A call, an email, a skill you practice. Do one thing each day that feeds your soul. A walk, reading, journaling, talking honestly with someone you love. And then be patient. Rebuilding a life is slower than destroying one, but it's worth it. In the next videos, I'll share more specifics. How I handle money now, how I think about aging, and how I'm preparing my grandkids not to repeat my mistakes. If you're in this stage, after the quit, before the clarity, drop a comment and tell me where you're stuck. You're not the first person to stand in this fog. You won't be the last, but you don't have to walk through it blind. You've heard my story. Now it's your turn to write yours. One small, intentional day at a time.